Hi everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to Her Expat Life, the YouTube channel that is committed to bringing you all the latest news and information to help females advance their global lifestyles. We are speaking to you if you're a digital nomad, a female entrepreneur, or a future female expat that's trying to figure out how to navigate the world and find information about how to make decisions about your life. And today I am joined with Candace, who is the founder of Her Expat Life. Hi, Candace.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Alexia.
How are you doing today, Candace?
I am good. And you?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy belated International Women's Day for
Yeah,
yesterday.
same to you. Same to you. My day yesterday was full of immigration
Yes.
issues. So all the expat and digital nomad women out here can understand the stress leading up to that. And every time I go, I'm just like, okay, this is worth it. This is worth it. This is worth it. And you're just like, okay, how much time are they going to give you? And I will admit I'm getting tired of feeling like that. So I need to make some options, do some options that are going to really lead to something that feels more secure, because they've changed a lot of things where I am. So but thank you nonetheless for a belated happy International Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, bureaucracy is one way to throw a spanner in the works, but it comes part and parcel. Yeah, I guess if you know that you're not living at home, you still have bureaucracy in your home country. It's just another layer because it's usually language issues and paperwork and all of that stuff, which can be just a nightmare.
Absolutely. In fact, I was thinking when I was there, I was like, I don't know how anyone who has zero knowledge of Turkish could make it through this process, because the immigration officers most of them don't speak English at all. And in some, they won't even use Google Translate, and they don't let you bring a translator in.
Oh, they don't?
No, they don't. To my knowledge, they don't. And I'm going to check into that, because for me, I just feel like that needs to change if that's not the case, because it makes the process extremely challenging. But it's a part of this expat lifestyle that we all love.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's a part of the expat lifestyle that we all love, and it's something that we all have to go through. And let's just say this: it grows you.
Yeah.
We'll say that. We'll say that.
And worst case scenario, you can just, for those listening at home, you can reach out to our team at herexpatlife.com and we can help you. We can guide you through the difficult challenges. But Candace, today we've decided to jump onto this live to discuss some interesting things, some breaking news that we're seeing in the world relating to being an expat, being a nomad. And the first one I want to touch on is the end of the golden visa for Portugal.
I know. That was a bomb that was dropped. I hope I can say that. I hope we don't get flagged for that, but that was like a big one that was just dropped out of nowhere by the Portuguese government. The Prime Minister, Antonio Costa, announced, there was a couple of weeks ago, that Portugal would be ending their golden visa program. And, for a lot of people who could afford that program, it was just a shock. I think it came at a time where Portugal all of a sudden became this big, attraction for a lot of digital nomads, a lot of expats, a lot of people coming, especially a lot of Americans wanting to come purchase property to create a better life for themselves. And Portugal had an amazing program that made it quite easy to gain citizenship for not only yourself, but also for your family. And I think that caused some contentions with the locals. And so the government stepped in to appease their people and ended the golden visa program. Also, I think in addition, you can't even buy property. Foreigners can't even buy property in Lisbon or Porto anymore. And I'm just not quite sure how I feel about that. I would love to hear you kind of chime in before I say anything.
Well, for those that don't know, let's maybe take one step back because maybe
Like,
people don't know exactly what the golden visa is. So,
yeah.
for those that don't know, Candice, would you just like to maybe break this down for us? What exactly is the golden visa? And then I'll share my thoughts.
Okay, sure. So, Golden Visa program essentially is a program that allows people a path to citizenship a
Mm-hmm.
number of ways, through real estate purchase, a bank deposit, opening a business, or depositing or investing money in a particular business. And if you establish your own legal business in that country, providing employment for a number of local people, usually I want to say it's normally a minimum of 10 to 15 people that you would have to be providing employment for to qualify for this golden visa program. And not only Portugal had that program, but there are many countries around the world that have similar programs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. That's a good overview of it. So, in doing some research about the Golden Visa program, and the main reason why I think Portugal and the Portuguese government decided to end it is that it has had a very serious effect on the local housing market, basically pricing the locals out of the market. So, this was the biggest concern. And the second concern, or one of the main concerns as well, was who was being allowed access into the country. So the EU flagged, I think it was in 2019, flagged that there were some concerns that because the Golden Visa program basically just looked at how much money you had,
Right.
it opened up the opportunity for maybe not the most, how could I put this?
Desirable,
Desirable or less than desirable, those that are not doing things
ethical, and moral people.
ethical. There we go. There were issues with money laundering or concerns about money
Right.
laundering, concerns about who's coming into the country. And on top of that, you have the locals who, on the back of COVID, now with this inflation that's going insane, are looking at the local housing market going, we can't even afford to live in our own country anymore.
Right.
Plus the people who, not all, but it's opening up the door for less than desirable people to be joining our community. So, whilst it sucks for the expat community and for foreign investors, I do understand why the Portuguese government had to do this because the backlash and pushback from the locals was quite intense and understandably so. Understandably so, in my opinion.
I kind of want to play the devil's advocate for just a moment because I do understand wanting to properly screen people coming in, just people who have money, but maybe they have money, but they're not the types of people that need to be in the country or be in the
Yeah.
EU. But I felt like foreigners were an easy scapegoat for a lot of governments, particularly post COVID. And for me, I felt like when it came to the real estate market, that the real problem was the local property owners taking advantage of the fact that foreigners could come in and pay a higher rate instead of keeping the properties, of fair market value. They
Mhm.
were purposely kind of taking advantage of the foreigners' income, plus the fact that a lot of foreigners just didn't really know what fair market price was.
Mhm.
So for me, I kind of fault the real estate crises, and that's globally
Yeah.
on the local property owners who were just being greedy and
Mhm.
pricing their own people out of the market, which was really just a shame. And I think that especially during a time after COVID where people were really just trying to find their footing and their bearings and come to some kind of normalcy, I do
Yeah.
feel like it was a bit unethical for property owners to do that. Like I know we were all trying to get ahead, but I do feel like there was a more ethical way to do that. I mean, how do you
Absolutely.
feel about that?
I think it's a fair point, and I think it's something, as with most topics these days, I don't think there is any one reason or any one thing
Right.
that we can look at to blame a situation. Everything is quite interlaced and complicated. So there are layers, there are many layers, and I think that's a fair point. Will people exploit opportunities to make maximum profits? Always, most of the time, you
Right.
know.
Right.
What's the impact of that? But that's when I think the government does need to step in because,
Absolutely.
in an ideal society, we elect government officials to serve the greater community. So whilst I am sad at hearing this news, like I do think it might also help maybe the attitudes from the local Portuguese community towards expats, because I do believe I heard from some personal friends of mine that there was growing tension
Yes.
between the locals and the expat community,
Right.
not necessarily from those who were coming to live and join the community, embrace the culture, learn
Right.
the language, which are things we need to do.
Yes.
Absolutely, but more from those who were coming in and maybe had a holiday home and, rented the holiday home out when they weren't there. Those were the people that were basically profiting off of the situation that the locals felt were unfair. So
Yes.
I think it might ease tensions, which is never a bad thing. And I think it's just a reminder as well for us to remember that if we do want to be immersing ourselves into foreign cultures and if we want to be embraced in different communities, we need to be aware of the impact
Absolutely.
that us being in these spaces creates for the locals. So it's something to just bear in mind as we move forward and expand our global lifestyles. We should do so consciously and make the effort, I think, as well, to understand the plights of the locals wherever we go, whichever country it is. And if we want these programs to exist, we need to maybe be just aware of the challenges. But I do agree that it's a very complicated, nuanced topic in the sense that I think it's many factors that contributed to everything.
Absolutely. And you brought up a really great point because not only did they end the Golden Visa program for real estate, but they also, the closure also included fund investments by bank deposit, job creations, and Airbnb is no longer permitted. And I do think that Airbnb and vacation rentals did create a housing shortage.
Yes.
And like you said, it's something that we have to be aware of because it really is inappropriate to take up all of these properties and then you're not even renting them to the locals. You're renting them out specifically for like 3, 4, 5 times the
Absolutely.
rate, um, just to make a profit. And so I do understand why the government had to step in, and ultimately I am glad that they did because, like you said,
Mhm.
that's the whole purpose of government. When they
Mm.
see that something's going on that's not for the greater good, we elect them to step in and make those types of decisions. There was a very popular YouTuber, yeah, a nomad capitalist who had made the statement that he felt like governments have a problem with rich people. And it really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I love his channel and information. And he's such an inspiration to so many. However, I would have loved for him to kind of expand that statement because to me, it didn't feel the decision for them to do this didn't feel like it was coming from, oh, we just don't like rich people. We just don't want rich people to expand. It was a lot deeper than that.
No, I agree with you. I personally hold a little bit of the opposite view. I
Okay.
think I personally believe that sometimes governments favor the rich maybe a little bit too much.
Really?
And I think, yeah, I think so. Personally, I think so, again, I think it's where profits can be made for most, that's the kind of world we live in. But in this case, I think it's bigger than just the Portuguese government because we've been seeing a lot of pushback from the EU in general, especially after the invasion of Ukraine. Security concerns in the EU is something that keeps
Right.
popping up. And
Right.
in fact, we saw Ireland end its golden visa program, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
March 2022. And the UK did the same thing in February of 2022. So this is something that I think is a bigger concern than just having a bone to pick with the wealthy. I
Right.
think it's the time of um, Europe needs to be concerned about security at the moment. It is something that they need to be looking at, and the Golden Visa program did open up that opportunity for money to be moving around very easily with little to no accountability. And I think that was the main concern. But on a positive note, I think that this could be a good thing for a lot of people who maybe are not super wealthy, because yes, the Golden Visa program has been shut, but Portugal recently launched the digital nomad visa.
Yes.
Which is much more accessible for those who are maybe middle income earners and are not excessively wealthy.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about the new digital nomad visa that
I absolutely love the new Portuguese digital nomad visa. I think that it opens up a lot of opportunities, including diverse demographics, including, like you said, the middle class and the wealthy, as well as families too, because it's pretty family friendly. You can add on your family members to the digital nomad visa, and it also provides a path to a permanent residency and possibly citizenship. So it's still there. It would take a little bit longer, but it's an option nonetheless. So
yes.
And then there are still countries that do still have their golden visa programs in the EU, like Spain and Greece. Although I hear the Portuguese government is putting a lot of pressure on Spain to also cancel their golden visa program. And the word on the street is that Italy is working on a golden visa program, which I feel like honestly was kind of long overdue. Yeah. But I do hope that what they do is maybe create a new kind of structure for the golden visa. Maybe have the people who go through the golden visa program go through a criminal background check, do a formal, have a more formalized immigration process. Yes. Other than just, okay, well, here I own property. And I think that there can be some balance in the situation. So I hope maybe that's what we'll see in the near future.
I hope so. And I think, it's the closing of one door and hopefully the opening of another that serves everyone in a better way. Because like we've mentioned before, I don't think all the checks and balances were in place to necessarily call in or bring in the most ethical investors. And I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying it opened up an opportunity for those who maybe who were looking to money launder, and these are not the kinds of people that you want to be inviting into your country. So I think it might be a phase of filtering out and cleaning out the riffraff from those who are genuinely interested in coming in and investing in a people, in a culture, in a community, and becoming part of it, as opposed to what the locals saw as maybe exploiting the situation.
And I think that is so important. I know you touched on it earlier, but, I really want to encourage, all of the women in our community. Really, we should be the ambassadors for our culture, our home countries, and just who we are as individuals when we are crossing borders. It is quite disrespectful to not acknowledge what the locals are going through. And this is a little bit off of the subject, but I remember when I first came here to Turkey, and the value of the lira was like $1 US to 6 lira. Now it's, $1 US to like 18 or 19 Turkish lira. And I remember overhearing some Americans like just getting giddy as the value of the lira dropped. And I'm like, stop it. Like, that is so inappropriate. I was like, yes, I do understand that, for those making currency like euro or dollars or pounds, that in a small way is a win a little bit, because your money can go further. However, there are real human beings that we decided to move into their communities who are suffering behind this, and we have to be extremely empathetic and caring about their
absolutely.
Candice,
I think we lost you there.
I think I'm back.
You're back. We're back.
Okay, no problem. I'm back.
Absolutely. We I think are on the same page with that topic about just being empathetic to the locals. I completely
Yes,
agree with you. And for me, I'm hoping that just, maybe this is a utopian ideology that I carry with me, but I would love to see us move to a world or move to a space where it's people over profits. You know,
absolutely. I
ideally.
think so. And we touched on that last night in last night's womb storm about the level of healing. It was really interesting, but I agree. I would love to see that too. But it
Mhm,
takes steps. The steps that to get there are had by having conversations like these. I'm
absolutely.
grateful. But I know
Absolutely.
we had, I guess kind of like moving on from this conversation, we had the other topic of Spain. And maybe you can tell us
Yes.
a little bit about that because that was really interesting to me.
Yes. Okay. So Spain recently passed new legislation that, let me just pull out the exact wording of this. I don't want to mess it up. A bill was approved in Parliament that is part of a broader package on sexual reproductive rights. And part of this meant that women now have, how do we word this exactly? Women now have the right to paid menstrual leave here in
Yeah.
Spain, which is a first for the EU. Spain is the first European country that has put this into play. And other than that, we are also, I live in Spain, that's why I'm saying we.
Yeah.
We also now have different changes or amendments to reproductive rights in general, including abortion rights, and also gender rights as well, which I believe people can freely change their gender on their ID cards. And anyone over the age of 16 has access to an abortion without necessarily having to get permission from parents. I know this is a controversial topic, as many people sit on either side of it, but I think one thing we can all agree on is that the menstrual leave that has come into play is just essential. And I'm kind of shocked that this is the first European country to put this into play, that this hasn't
I am too.
been the norm. I must be honest, I was a little bit surprised at that. So yeah, women now here in Spain, if they struggle with serious issues during their menstrual cycle, they have to go to the doctor. But they can get up to 3 days leave, and it can be extended to 5 days under serious circumstances. And the government is footing the bill.
I
Uh,
think that's amazing.
it is amazing. It is amazing. And interestingly enough, when I was doing some research on this topic, even though Spain is the first country here in Europe to do this, Asia has been leading the pack for a long time with
Really?
paid menstrual leave. Yeah. So Japan introduced menstrual leave into their labor law in 1947.
Wow. I'm
Indonesia
shocked.
Yeah, Indonesia was an early adoptee of the menstrual leave policy, was introduced in Indonesia in 1948. South Korea also has menstrual leave, and Taiwan as well. And I do believe I saw somewhere that in Africa, I think it was Kenya
Okay.
that has it as well. So the EU's been sleeping on this apparently for a while, but things are changing and Spain is leading the way. So I'm quite proud of that. And I'm quite proud to see the progress that's happening here. And I hope we see the rest of the world actually pay attention to this. So what are your thoughts
Absolutely.
on
My thoughts are bravo to Spain. I'm very happy about this because I just feel like in general there needs to be a shift
Yeah.
to accommodate women in the working world. Um, and I think women understanding their menstrual cycles and you know, I think starting at that place will lead to other changes in legislation, not legislation, but labor policies and labor laws for women that are female friendly. Because, for me, I've always been like what I call a feminine entrepreneur. So I have always adapted policies that are very family friendly and flexible for women, because one of the biggest, I think, things that have hindered women to advance in their careers are not really having the support that they need from their employers
Yeah.
for things like childbirth,
Mhm.
afterbirth,
Mhm.
um, menstrual cycles, or even family issues like, okay, well, my kid just got sick at school. I need to go, get them. And then a lot of times
Mhm.
these women are overlooked for promotions and things like that. And so I feel like this is the start of something really great. And I hope that more people will start taking note, and not only about a women's menstrual cycle, but understanding women's unique biochemics and neuroscience and the way we're hardwired to work, so that
Yeah.
you can actually understand where in a woman's cycle will you be able to get the best results from her. And I think the last conversation that we had, I was telling you about my neighbor.
Yes.
Yes, and I was like laughing so hard because I don't even know how we had even gotten on the topic of women's menstrual cycles, but I was explaining to him about the science, the neuroscience, and the biochemics, and he was like, "Oh, are you serious?" He's like, "Because I used to schedule all the women in my office based on when their menstrual cycle was, because he's like, I would notice like they would start getting a little cat fights." And he's like, I think, I need to chart this. And so he did, and it created a lot of peace and flow in his office. And it wasn't something that he was doing consciously and like creating like a policy for his office. It was just something that he was doing on his own because he just wanted the women to get along in the
An
office.
enlightened man.
Right, exactly.
He
Exactly.
understood the assignment.
Yes, he did. And so I feel like if leadership takes note of these things and government also supports this, we can see an amazing and beautiful shift where women can work within their flow. They won't be experiencing burnout at the rates that they're experiencing burnout. And
Yeah.
they can have the knowledge of knowing that them being a woman is not going to hold them back professionally, which I think ultimately that was one of the goals in Spain, creating this particular law and policy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as females, we feel a lot of pressure to adjust to a system that was designed with the male in mind.
Exactly.
And it's time that that system is revised to create
Absolutely.
a fairer system, because any woman who has their menstrual cycle will tell you that there are days where you power through just
Yeah.
because no one knows you're on your period. No
Right.
one knows that you're cramping. No one knows. You kind of feel like no one would even care. So you just
Yeah.
power through, you push through the nausea, you push through the cramping, you push through all of that. And a lot of women suffer, and we need to
Yeah.
acknowledge this. And if a woman has a medical condition that she struggles with during her menstrual cycle, that needs to be acknowledged and that needs to be understood. And I think it will help break down these barriers between the genders, that there is not an understanding because there's not enough communication.
Right.
I think this is the first step in let's talk about how we can elevate and maximize everyone in the workspace and get the best out of everyone in the workspace.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. And then I
and
think just having more conversations about it so that it's not this taboo, secretive thing to talk about. I mean, women have periods. Like, that's it. And it's not something that's bad. It's not something that's shameful. It's something that is honestly very powerful when you really start understanding the duality of a woman's menstrual cycle, and also just start understanding how a woman can maximize her own unique biochemics during that time. It's amazing resource to know. So we
mhm,
do need to talk about it a lot more.
mhm. You're inspiring me, Candace. I think maybe we need to try and find a professional to have a chat with about how to unlock the power of our menstrual cycle. That might be an interesting topic to dive into.
And I know just the person.
Aha,
Yes,
aha.
I know
This is
just the person.
so, just to end off before we end off, I just wanted to add that I think it's also important to acknowledge that we don't need to wait for governments to be putting this into play. We have seen quite a few companies. I know there are a few companies in the States that are rolling out similar policies, and in Dubai as well. There was a law firm, I believe, I read somewhere about a law firm in Dubai that was doing the same thing. So as females in the workspace, let's not wait for the government to have to pass these legislations and laws. Let's look at our employers and go, what are you doing? How are you taking our bodies into account in this workspace? And I think the pushback, it can happen because we're seeing a global shift with the way we're thinking about this and thinking about females in the workspace. So yeah, just to remind everyone that we don't need to wait necessarily for the change. The wave is here, so we can start having those conversations, and hopefully more companies will jump on board and embrace having some menstrual leave for those that need it.
Absolutely. I am on board with that. We have to be the change.
Mm-hmm.
Period. End of story.
Nicely played, Candace. Nicely played. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our first live. Please let us know if you enjoyed it. We really want to hear from you, our listeners. We are here for you to bring you not only the latest news, but to bring you guidance and understanding as you navigate the tricky waters of being a female who has a global lifestyle. So please make sure to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, hit the notification bell, visit our website, herexpatlife.com, and have a look at the holistic offering that we give to all of our listeners and our customers and people out there. And just keep watching our channel. Let us know what you want to see. Drop us some comments about topics that you're interested in, and we'll bring you the people and we'll bring you the info. Thank you so much, Candace, for taking the time to chat to us today. And we'll see everybody soon, yeah?
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.